I, 17F, used to have a great relationship with my stepmother. I genuinely saw her as a mother figure in my life and I was so excited when she found she was pregnant, but everything changed in 2020 when I had to stay prematurely with my dad during the lockdowns because my mom is a surgeon. At first everything was normal until my stepmother Tammy was about 4 months pregnant. She started snapping at me for no reason, and things that she didn't care about before now bothered her. Now I wasn't a messy or a loud person. I did every I was asked and respected the rules without any back talk, but no matter what I did she got angry. It came to a point she couldn't stand being in the same room as me. I remember I ended staying in my room most of the time. I only left to do chores or get something from the kitchen. Even at that she got mad. Like one day she came into my room angry and started yelling that my room was so smelly it was making her sick. I pointed out that the only mess in the room was a half bag of chips, which caused her to burst out crying. As always, Dad babied her, then made excuses saying she's struggling over lockdown, pregnancy and not being able to see her family. My mental health was extremely bad. I felt like I was a piece of trash that at any day my dad was gonna throw away, and I was always scared my mom would get sick. It went so bad my hair started falling out. The breaking point came when I was at the kitchen table. I was reading a story on my phone waiting for my cereal to go soggy to eat it when Tammy came and huffed them, started cleaning loudly, complaining about a mess. The kitchen was spotless. Then she took my bowl and threw it in the bin, literally even the bowl, so I just flipped and started yelling at her what was her problem with me and called her an abusive fucking bitch among other things. My dad came running. A&D got between us. She demanded that I leave the house, that I was never allowed near her kid. Dad walked me to my room, then said something that ruined our relationship forever. He told me that I must doing something to Tammy because no hates a kid for no reason, and if I kept stressing her I'd have to move out. I then made a social media post asking someone for a place to stay, explained the situation in detail, packed a bag, then climbed out my bedroom window bungalow. After about 30 minutes my phone started blowing up, but I just turned it off and went to a friend's house. I texted my mom off my friend's phone to let her know everything. She didn't call for 7 hours because she was in surgery. She said my aunt would pick me up the next day. My mom told my father I was okay and that I'd be staying with my aunt for 2 weeks till she could come home. Apparently Dad and Tammy had to go door to door to my family/friends' houses looking for me. After I made the post, let's say they got a lot of shit. My grandparents still don't talk to him to this day. My aunt packed up my room because I refused to go back into that house. I've not spoken to my father in years or met my half-brother. Tammy and Dad still try to fix our relationship. Apparently sometimes pregnant women get a hatred against people or pets for no reason. I'm turning 18 in 3 weeks and a cousin's girlfriend asked me about inviting my dad, so I told her the story. She told me while what they did was wrong, what I did was an asshole thing too, because I made them worry/stress and go to multiple people's houses during a pandemic that put a pregnant woman having a mental health issue at risk by whole stun. Update 1. I'm gonna call my cousin's girlfriend Sarah and my cousin Paul, so I mentioned in a comment I uninvited Sarah from the party. Yesterday Paul came over to talk. He told me Sarah had issues in the past with her younger siblings. It was apparently really bad, like her siblings lived with their mom full-time and SHE lived with her dad. Long story short, Sarah was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and collage and went to therapy. He said even though she's apologized, her siblings still won't have anything to do with her, which breaks her heart. Paul said Sarah told him that when I told her what happened it triggered her because it reminded her of her situation with her siblings. I didn't mention in the other post because it was really irrelevant to what I was asking, but Sarah texted me about letting go of the hate, links to sites about family members with mental health issues, numbers of family therapists, even subreddits on here. He told me Sarah wanted to meet up to clear the air and apologize in person. I said okay. Sarah texted about half an hour later about collecting me because she wanted to drive to a new restaurant that newly opened in the next town over as her pre-birthday treat to me. We know what she was planning, but Tammy ruined it for her by calling my mom to tell her Sarah's plans to help us make up. I wrote my dad a letter 2 days ago, as a lot of you suggested. I put everything in there and told him how it affects me to this day. I told him I wanted a relationship with my brother, but I wasn't sure I'll ever want one with him. I told him to leave me alone because his actions are only pushing me away even more, and if I ever decide I want to talk to him it will be on my terms with my mom present. The letter ended up being 5 pages, and you guys were right, it did make me feel better. My mom dropped it off that day and Dad asked to meet her a day later. They talked about me meeting my brother and my dad said he wants to buy me a car, no strings attached. They, Tammy and Dad, also asked would it be okay to give me money to get myself something for my birthday. You guys are gonna hate me for this, but I'm taking the car and $500 if he wants to give me more he can, because collage supplies and moving into a dorm is expensive. Back to Sarah. She's basically contacted Tammy via Facebook. I sent my mom the screenshots, telling her everything I said, then asking Tammy her side because Sarah didn't believe me. To Tammy's credit, she told the truth and took full accountability. It was Sarah who kept trying to make out Tammy was the victim. Sarah told Tammy about her own past and said she'd try to mend our relationship. Tammy told her that didn't want her to. The last message was Sarah telling Tammy the location and time we'd be at the restaurant, even said she'd drive me so I couldn't leave even though I just asked a waitress for help or call my mom. My mom posted the screenshots into the group chat and called Sarah a bunch of names, told her if she ever came near me again she'd regret it. I blocked Sarah and left the group chat, so I don't know what happened afterwards, but Paul came over with my aunt and swore he knew nothing about it. To be honest, I don't know if I believe him because he was trying to defend Sarah again, which got him a verbal lashing from my aunt and mom. That's it really. I'm gonna update in a few months to let you guys know how everything went with my brother. I feel like I owe everyone that after so many people helped me take that step, because honestly words can't describe how happy it's made me. Literally the best birthday present I could have gotten. Thank you so much for the amazing advice and people sharing their own experiences, even the women who suffered mental illness. Tammy did. It helped me understand it a bit more, but I still can't forgive her. I don't think we can ever rebuild our relationship, especially to what it was. Oop. I've not spoken to him since, and my mom said don't worry about adult business, just focus on the rest of my summer and my upcoming party. But the way he was talking about her, if I had to guess, he is. Oop. From what I've been told by Paul and the stuff I saw in the screenshots, she was horrible to her siblings. I dare say abusive. Even in the watered down version, she said in one episode she cut up her sister's clothes and ruined all her makeup by throwing them against her sister's bedroom walls, but then also said she replaced everything afterwards and apologized, so she doesn't understand why the sister still holds it against her. There's a lot more she said in the messages to Tammy. Your father made a mistake. A bad mistake. Tammy was unwell and in crisis. It's up to you to move forward. You can have zero relationship with your father or work on repairing. And repairing doesn't mean they have to dance to your tune. Taking the car and money without making an effort to connect is greedy. You are almost 18. It's time to think about who it is you want to be. Update 2. I turned 18 3 days ago, had a great time. I've met my father. Sarah tried to get in contact with me again, and I've spoken to my father and Tammy. It's easier to break everything down. Sarah, a day after I made the last update, my mom booked a holiday for a week to get away, which was really random and sudden for her. 3 days in, my mom got a notification that someone was at our door. It was Sarah. Sarah at first was normal, asking my mom to talk to me, then she started explaining herself and her situation, which went between sad/angry, but suddenly she freaked out, started calling me names and threatening me while damaging our door and porch, even broke the Ring camera. It was extremely scary. I don't blame her siblings for not wanting anything to do with her. Sarah was arrested. My mom is definitely pressing charges. I don't know much about her situation now, but I'm not gonna lie, I've been looking over my shoulder a lot since. For those wondering, yeah, her and my cousin broke up. He's, let's say, shaken up worse than me and very apologetic. My brother, my birthday went great. I had such a good time, honestly. Of the best mother/family in the world, they really made my 18th special. I got so many amazing presents, but my favorite was the sister necklace my brother gave me. Obviously Dad or Tammy got it, but I finally get to be his sister, and that's what I've wanted for so long. We have spent some time together and I'm seeing him again tomorrow. He's so extremely adventurous, never sits down for a second. He loves Miss Rachel and Green. I found out he and the neighbor's cat will stare each down, which I used to do when I stayed at Dad's. I could talk for hours about him. I'm so glad you guys helped me meet him. I can't thank you enough for that, Dad. My dad was there the first time I met my brother. I knew beforehand, because obviously my brother is a toddler. Basically we met at Dad's sibling, aunt's house. I was told he'd stay in the kitchen the whole time. I caught him peeking at me and brother a few times throughout the day. When I was leaving, my dad followed me out and just hugged me. He told me he missed me. I hugged him back and told him I missed him too. As you know, it was the first time I've spoken to him in years. He apologized and took accountability. I started angry, crying, then just left everything out. I told him how they made me feel, my mental health, and that I love him but I'll never forgive him. He asked me if he could try to make it up to me and be a part of my life again. I said we can try, but I'm making no promises on ever getting back the relationship we once had. We have spoken a few times and he has helped me when I needed to bring my large dog home from the vets. Now Tammy, you guys are gonna be shocked, but I was the one who contacted her, so I got my mom to call her to basically say Jessica is with me, she wants to speak to you. Tammy was obviously shocked but agreed. I told her after everything she put me though and how much she hurt me that we'd never have a relationship, but I'm willingly, for just my brother's sake, not hers or mine, to be civil, because I want us to be able to attend my brother's events without drama. Tammy started apologizing and telling me she's not like that anymore. She got help, which I'm glad she's doing better. We talked about the Sarah situation and my brother for a few minutes. The who call was like 20 minutes. I've not spoken to her since, but like that 5 days ago, so that's it. Really my last update date. I know what people are thinking about my dad. I've not forgiven him and he will have to work extremely hard to get back the relationship we lost, but I feel better that he's back in my life and I do believe both of them regret it. But if I get any shit or think my brother isn't being treated well, I will make their lives hell. Thanks so much Reddit for the amazing advice. My name is Jessica and I'm praying I'll never have to make a post on here again. I am 32 at the time, was working in a small office and everyone got along. I worked with a woman, let's call her Gina, who I got along with great. We talked and joked and were, I would say, very good friends. She found out she was pregnant and everyone was happy. Starting in her second trimester, she made my work life hell. She was always angry at me, condescending, made snide remarks, talked badly about me to others. I was the only one she was doing it to. I had no idea what I had done. Everyone else we worked with said I had done nothing and that she was out of line. People would speak to her and tell her she needed to stop. One of my coworkers pulled her aside to talk to her about it, and I was later told Gina had said she was acting the way she was because she couldn't stand me, hoped I'd lose my job and everyone would be better off if I didn't work there anymore. I was miserable. I dreaded going into work. I started sending out my resume and even went on a couple interviews. Gina went on maternity leave and everything was peaceful. About a month after she had the baby, she came into the office to introduce her new daughter to everyone. She asked if she could talk to me privately and we went into a conference room. She immediately started crying. I mean gushing tears, ugly crying. She just kept saying how sorry she was. She had no idea why she did what she did. She said she knew she was being terrible and she just couldn't stop herself. She heard everyone tell her she had to stop and she just couldn't do it. She said she had even told her husband about it while she was pregnant and he told her that it wasn't me, it was her. He told her he knew it was her because she did it to him when they were having their first kid. She said after the baby was born all the thoughts and hostility went away. She could just not stop apologizing. There was no way it was an act. I told her that she made my life miserable for those months and I was getting ready to find a new job all because of her. She looked horrified and started crying even harder. But I liked my job and told her that I forgave her and I would hold off on leaving as long as everything was back to normal. She promised it would be. I also told her that if she got pregnant again I was putting in my notice, joking. Kind of. And everything to go back to normal. She was just as nice as she had been before the baby. Once again, I am not telling you to do anything or trying to sway your thoughts on this. I just wanted to give you events from someone that found themselves in a similar situation. Oop, Tammy said something similar. She knew she was the bad guy and knew what she did was wrong. She told me tried to always find ways to justify herself in the moment but felt bad after. It's a thing that can happen during pregnancy. Some women turn against a cat they loved or even their own husbands, but unfortunately as well Tammy after the baby had postnatal psychosis. For me, I knew she got help and changed when she warned my mom about Sarah. I know her reason and she's trying to make up for it, but I don't think I can forgive her. I saw her as a second mom. I think the best thing we can hope for in the future is a friendship. Now on to second story. Wife deleted my ex's pregnancy message without reading, leaving me unaware of my daughter for 5 years, now facing remorseful separation. Wife deleted a message from my ex telling me that she was pregnant 5 years ago. It's been almost 2 weeks since I found out. We did the tests and she's mine. My ex had sent me a message a couple weeks before giving birth telling me about everything. My then GF and present wife saw that my ex sent me a message and deleted it, then blocked her, apparently without reading it. Ex took that as me not wanting to be involved and raised our daughter all alone. For 5 fucking years. My daughter is turning 5 in a month and I haven't even met her. Every time I think about how much I missed out on, I just lose it. I know I must focus on what I've gained instead of what I've lost, but damn, it's hard. It's taken me 2 hours just to write this out. Don't even want to start on what my ex had to go through alone and the desperation to reach out to my mother for help when she hates her nearly more than me. My wife says she's remorseful. That she was just very immature at the time and didn't think it could be that important, so much so she forgot about it. I've never loved anyone more than my wife. She's supported me through so much. I believe that she actually feels bad and regrets it. She's pregnant plus 21 weeks pregnant with our first child together. We're currently separated while I deal with everything, but I don't know how we'll move forward after this. Edit. To further elaborate, I found out through my mother who was contacted by my ex about my daughter and how I ghosted her. I was talking to my wife about this and she confessed about deleting it and blocking it. Oop, my ex asked my mother for some cash for our daughter and then my mom chewed me out for being a deadbeat. Asked her what she was talking about and she told me about my ex and how I blocked her. Mentioned it to my wife who admitted there was a time where she deleted a message from my ex and blocked her. Oop, replying to a deleted comment. In all honesty, I was a shit boyfriend to her, especially towards the end, so I can't blame her for not trying hard. Dare to contact me. That's on me. I do want to forgive her. As I said, I believe she was just being childish in the moment, but damn, that was some bad timing. I'm not entirely sure I can forget about this. Oop. There's obviously that little devil saying that she read it, but I refuse to believe she knew about this and didn't tell me all this time. Update 1. I met with my ex last week just to properly explain myself and discuss the whole what nows. It didn't end up being productive and mostly filled with awkward silence with a few miniature arguments. Towards the end she said that she'd been talking to a lawyer and didn't want me to be involved and will be seeking full custody of our daughter with no visitation, as well as suing me for back child support and getting me on child support. So that was fun. To be clear, I was always going to provide more than my fair share for any child of mine. I really don't know how any of this works, but I haven't received anything from the court or something, so it could have just been a threat, but she seems serious. Regardless, I decided to find myself a lawyer to help me instead of waiting around and eventually got linked with an old friend's brother whom I'm meeting tomorrow, which is great. My wife and I are trying to work things out. Due to the lawyer/court situation, financially speaking, we couldn't get an actual therapist, but my wife's pastor offered to provide marriage counseling for us. We only had 2 sessions before the family drama broke out and we temporarily put counseling on pause. Basically, the thing about my wife deleting the message leaked out to the rest of the family, which has led my wife getting uncivil messages from a couple family members. My lovely older sister also decided to add to the fire by posting about this on her FB. My wife has locked herself at home since and is taking everything quite badly, since even her friends now know and have distanced themselves from her. I'm actually quite worried about it, but at least her mum is there with her and I try to check on her regularly. It's all just overwhelming. When I'm not thinking about my daughter, I'm thinking about my ex. When I'm not thinking about my ex, I'm thinking about my family drama, and when I'm not thinking about that, I'm thinking about my marriage and the pregnancy. And there's still work, so it's been a really terrible week. Finding it hard to maintain optimism and excitement for my daughter when all this has happened. Just a shit situation all round. This ended up being more of a vent, so sorry about that. I probably won't give another update in future unless there's good news, so just thanks for the support. Oop, I didn't want to push it too much, but I did sit her down and ask her again, and she assured me that she never read it. Only saw that it was from my ex and deleted it based on that. Update 2. The last update ended with my ex threatening to fight me in court. Well, the lawyer I'd arranged suggested we give mediation a try and set that up with her lawyers and this mediator. Overall, the mediation went quite shit and seemed to be more detrimental to us ever cooperating. We only had 2 actual sessions and both were just filled with unnecessary fighting and no resolution. Funny enough, it was the chaos at the mediation that kind of proved to both of us we weren't interested in fighting each other indefinitely, and she reached out late in the evening after the second mediation asking to meet up the next day. In that meeting, we talked things out and listened to one another. Sorted through some baggage from our relationship as well as spoke about what exactly had been going on the past 5 years. Hours-long conversation, but it was totally worth it. We agreed that we'd make it work and put our daughter in the forefront. A meeting was arranged for me to drive over and see my daughter face to face, and I did. At the time I wasn't introduced properly to her as her father, and she obviously was KGA round this random dude around, but it was still great seeing her that first time. She was / seeing someone to help with my transition into her life, and I've since been properly introduced to her and she started calling me Papa, so things are going stunningly smooth and she's coping really well with it all. Plus my ex has floated around the idea that if she could find a job / better job where I am, she'd consider moving, so distance isn't too big of a problem, though that's still a big if. For now, I'll just keep driving up to her until we're acquainted enough to allow her to make the trip to me. The last update on my wife left things at my sister posting about everything and my family fighting with my wife. My sister has removed the post and apologized to my wife, although not sincere, but still an apology. Still ongoing, but attempts of reconciling my family and wife are going more or less well. My wife momentarily moved to stay with her parent to get away from everything for about a month, but has since moved back to the house with me as we're soon expecting the birth of our child in the up and coming weeks. All extremely excited over that, and we've worked through our issues. I'm sure most of you will be disappointed by this, but I do 100% believe my wife and trust that she isn't some conniving person. She's still the woman I love, and we're all to blame for the circumstance that led to this whole situation. All we can do is focus on the future. Big thanks to everyone who's offered their support and wishes as well as advice.